I found half a bottle of lube in my wife's purse. The thing is, we've never used that stuff together. I bought 2 bottles of super glue and emptied them right into the container. In the middle of the night, my dog started barking like crazy, and half of my wife's leg was just gone. It all started a few days ago. My wife got all dressed up for a job interview. It was an interview that should have taken 10 minutes, but I sat there outside the company waiting for her. I waited for 5 whole hours. The moment she finally walked out, the black nylons on her legs were completely shredded. My heart dropped, but I tried to stay cool. I kept telling myself that I was just overthinking things. But then she leaned over to change her shoes, and I saw it clearly on those torn stockings. There was some kind of suspicious fluid on them. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I fought with everything I had to keep a straight face, but the tears just started and I couldn't stop them. When we got back to the bedroom, Ning Bing fell into a deep sleep almost immediately. I just lay there in the dark. I couldn't stop thinking about those ripped stockings and that strange way she was walking. I didn't drift off until it was almost morning. The next day, as soon as I rolled out of bed, Ning Bing was already dressed and ready to head out. She was in her usual white blouse and pencil skirt. I made sure to take a good look. She was wearing black nylons again, but when she came home from work that evening, the stockings were gone. Before I could even open my mouth to ask, she pulled a pair out of her bag looking totally annoyed. She said, "The car door caught them as soon as I got out." I am so ticked off. I felt a small wave of relief. Maybe I really was just being paranoid. But the moment I looked at the stockings in her hand, my head started spinning. A cold chill ran through my entire. Ning Bing was lying to my face. She definitely left the house in black nylons this morning, but the ones she was holding now were nude. It felt like a bolt of lightning struck me right out of the blue. If I only had my suspicions before. Now I'm 100% sure that Ning Bing is cheating on me. The moment she bent over just now, I saw it as clear as day. There were several dark red marks high up on her inner thigh. Those weren't just random spots, they were broken capillaries. Those were hickeys, plain and simple. Ning Bing and I met while working part-time jobs back in college. After graduation, we started a business together from the ground up. Every morning we'd go running around desperate to find investors, only to have doors slammed in our faces over and over. We were looked down on by everyone. I spent countless nights trying to keep clients happy, faking smiles and drinking until the whole room was spinning. During the hardest times, we'd buy a breakfast stall and sneak extra pickles and radish bits into the bag, just to make enough for 5 meals. Thankfully, all that hard work finally paid off. Our business actually started to take off. That tiny little startup gradually grew into a full-scale company. Then one day Ning Bing told me she didn't want to work anymore. She wanted to stay home and be my supportive wife. I smiled and agreed without hesitation. She had suffered so much by my side and put up with way too much. From then on, she settled into life at home, spending her days shopping, getting her nails done and going to the spa. But she didn't neglect me at all back then. Every single morning, my suits were pressed and ready for me. And when I got home at night, there was always a delicious hot meal waiting on the table. But I never in a million years imagined that our happily ever after would only last for 5 short years. I don't even know when it started, but complaining that her car wasn't as good as her friends, and whining that her designer bags weren't the latest season. Sometimes when I finally got home from work, the dining table would be completely empty, without a single sign of life in the house. I didn't care about any of that though. I thought as long as I kept grinding and making money, everything would be okay. All I ever wanted was for her to have the best life possible. If the car wasn't nice enough, I'd work my tail off to trade it in for a better one. If her bag wasn't the latest style, I'd go out and buy her the newest one on the market. If there wasn't a meal ready, I'd just go home and cook it myself. But I never, not in a million years, expected this. I never thought she'd actually go and stab me in the back like that. Every time I picture her with another man, I can't stay calm. The next day after my wife headed off to work, I went straight to her office building and threw my resume in for a random gig. In less than 2 hours, HR sent over an invitation for an interview. I stripped off my expensive designer suit, swapped it for a plaid shirt and some jeans, and headed over to the company. The person interviewing me was just a young girl for a basic position like this. My resume was absolutely flawless. We chatted for a few minutes, and then she told me to start the very next day. I got to the office early the next morning and picked out a desk in a quiet, out-of-the-way corner. From where I was sitting, I could see pretty much everyone in the office. Without drawing any attention to myself, work had already been going for 30 minutes. Before Bai Ning Bing finally decided to show up, she was in her usual look, the button-down pencil skirt and stockings. Her desk was right next to the boss's office. I spent the whole morning keeping a close eye on her, trying to figure out who her side piece was. but for the entire morning, at her desk, scrolling through her phone. She was either fixing her makeup or reapplying lipstick. Forget about actually working. She didn't even bother to turn on her computer. Just as I was caught up in my own head, she suddenly stood up and walked into the office behind her. She closed the door behind her, and then snapped the blinds on the window. Were shut completely. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that the office door finally swung open again. Bai Ningbing walked out of the room, her lips noticeably red and swollen. The hem of her blouse was a mess of wrinkles, and she fumbled with her disheveled hair. As she made her way toward the restroom, I stared fixedly toward the restroom door, until the colleague next to me nudged me with his elbow. "Forget about that girl," he said. "She's already spoken for." I didn't even acknowledge what he said. Instead, I clenched my fists and stood up abruptly. My colleague jumped, startled by my sudden, grumbled under his breath, "What a psycho! You nearly gave me a heart attack!" Look at yourself before you start acting out. I walked toward the boss's office, only slowing my pace as I got closer, drifting slowly past the doorway. Inside, a man in his 30s, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, was looking down, zipping up his suit trousers. Once Bai Ningbing returned from the restroom, she just sat at her desk with her head down, staring at her phone. After work, I intentionally loitered outside the company for over an hour before finally heading home. When I got back, Bai Ningbing had just finished her shower and was stepping out of the bathroom. Despite the sweltering 90-degree heat, she was actually wearing long-sleeved, full-length pajamas. I knew the reason why in an instant, so I purposely asked her, "Why are you wearing long sleeves when it's this hot?" Bai Ningbing stammered a bit as she replied, "My period is coming in a few, and didn't you always tell me to make sure I stay warm?" "Is that so? Then you definitely need to keep warm." I stared directly into her eyes with a piercing gaze. Perhaps my look was too intense, because she couldn't even bring herself to meet my eyes. Just when she looked like she was about to snap, I spoke up calmly and slowly. "The project is getting pretty busy these next few days, so I'll be sleeping in the guest bedroom for a while. I have to work late tonight. I don't want to wake you up." Hearing that, Ningbing looked instantly relieved and said my work came first. "Don't worry about me," she said, finally letting her guard down. As soon as she finished, she practically bolted back to her room, watching her shut that door without a second thought. I just sneered to myself. Of course she's relieved. If she wasn't, how would she explain all those suggestive marks on her skin? Just being in the same room as her, I was afraid I'd lose right then and there. But the timing isn't right. No matter how disgusted I feel, I have to suck it up for now. Over the next few days, Ningbing went to work like usual. But every day, she'd head to the boss's office and stay for over an hour, sometimes in the morning, and sometimes once in the morning and once again in the afternoon. She acted like she was actually buried in work. During the day, I stayed at that company, pretending to slack off and just kill time. But I was watching her every move in secret. At night, I'd head back to my own company to handle some essential files. Still, I hadn't found a chance to get any solid evidence until one day, Ningbing, who usually just played on her phone all day, suddenly picked a fight with a colleague. The admin department hired cleaners to tidy up every day. There had never been a single issue before, but when this month's cleaning fees came up for approval, Ningbing, the admin manager, was a guy in his late 40s. "We really need to hire a cleaner for such a minor thing. Why can't each employee just sweep their own area when they're done for the day? $6,000 a month for cleaning. Do you think money just grows on trees?" Faced with Ningbing's barrage of questions, he didn't even dare to talk back. "Bai Ningbing is at the office today," acting like she's already the boss's wife. The supervisor could only nod along like a scared little puppy. After taking her crap, the supervisor scanned the room and marched straight over to my desk. "Jang, stay behind after work today. You're handling the office cleaning." Hearing that, my blood started boiling. Do I look like some kind of pathetic pushover? Why does it have to be me? Shouldn't everyone be responsible for their own space? Because I said so, that's why. You're already ignoring orders right after starting. Do you even want to work here? Entire office after hours. And that includes the boss's office. Don't miss a single spot, you hear me? I was ready to snap back at him, but as soon as he mentioned the boss's office, I shut my mouth. I pretended to be annoyed and just gave in. "Fine, I'll do it." Seeing me cave, the supervisor gripped his mug and turned to leave, tossing a few more insults over his shoulder as he walked away. Once he was gone, I immediately hopped online and bought a tiny hidden camera, making sure to select the same-day delivery option. I was just wondering how I'd get into the boss's office, and now the chance was literally being handed to me after everyone had left for the day. I took the camera that had just been delivered and tucked it into a potted plant in the corner. I carefully adjusted the angle. The lens was aimed perfectly at the executive desk. On the desk sat a nameplate that read, General Manager Chen Junming. I stayed tucked away at my desk, keeping a sharp eye on Bai Ningbing's every move. All morning, she didn't even step inside the boss's office. Just as I was starting to lose my patience, Bai Ningbing finally started heading toward the boss's door. Seeing this, I immediately slipped out of the office and went to the coffee shop downstairs to wait. I couldn't wait to open the surveillance app on my phone. And there she was, Bai Ningbing half sprawled across the desk. I quickly put on my headphones, and their explicit, filthy conversation filled my ears. I feel like she almost caught us last time. Maybe I shouldn't wear these next time. Then I heard the sharp snap of fabric, the distinct sound of stockings being ripped apart. The office isn't exciting enough. Why don't we go have some fun at your place instead? Right then I felt as sick as if I'd swallowed 100 flies. I wanted to charge in there and tear them both to shreds, but I quicked myself to cool down. If I just catch them in the act, that's letting them off way too easy. I'm going to destroy their reputations and make them pay. Suddenly, a twisted plan flashed through my mind. I rushed home immediately and rigged every single room with hidden cameras. Then I messaged Ningbing saying I had a late meeting and told her to go grab dinner without me. Once everything was ready, driver take me to the nearest hotel. I checked into a room and sat there waiting for those two to take the bait. It didn't take long. Ningbing and Junming showed up right at my house. Watching those disgusting images on my phone, patience. The real show is just beginning. I closed the surveillance app and used a burner SIM from a friend to call 911. I need to report an emergency at the Garden Grove Apartments, Building 9, Apartment 527. I think a woman is being assaulted, screaming for help. If you don't get here right now, it's going to be too late for her. And please, I'm begging you, don't let anyone know I called. I'm terrified that man will come after me for revenge. After I hung up with the police, I immediately dialed a contact at a major news outlet. I've got a massive scoop for you. A major crime is unfolding right now at Building 9 in Garden Grove. Ignoring the reporter's barrage of questions, I hung up the phone immediately. I sat by the hotel window, lit a cigarette, and waited quietly. It didn't take long before several police cars pulled up. As the police arrived, residents from all over the complex started paying attention to what was going on. People just can't resist a good scandal. Not long after the police went upstairs, I saw that reporter hauling his camera right up after them. My smile widened, but as I laughed, a few tears rose. About 30 minutes later, the police let out a fully dressed Bai Ningbing and Chen Junmin from the building, putting them into the squad car. That clever reporter hid in the crowd, silently snapping photos. Everyone around was filming on their phones for social media, and the whole place was buzzing with gossip. Next, it was time for the police to notify the family to come get them. I really wanted to see exactly what kind of look my wife would have when she finally saw me. Shortly after I got back to my rental, I received a call from the police. Hello, this is the West City Police Department. With a faint smile on my face, I answered with a tone of pure confusion. Is this Mr. Fang Yuan? Yes, it is. Is something wrong? Well, sir, we received a report that your wife was being harassed. You're saying my wife was harassed? My wife is Bai Ningbing. Are you serious? Is this for real? Stay calm. How can I stay calm? What happened to my wife? Before the officer could even finish his sentence, I cut him off, sounding frantic and worried. Sir, please listen to me. Your wife wasn't actually harassed. That's good, that's good. Thank goodness everyone's okay. I get it now. She's been cheating. According to our investigation, it was a consensual act. Mr. Fang, are you doing okay? I know this must be hard for you to hear, but you have to stay strong. Whatever you do, don't do anything reckless. I'm fine, it's just the news came so out of the blue. I need a moment to process everything. Oh, by the way, you haven't mentioned this to my in-laws, have you? Her parents are already in their 50s. Their health isn't the best. A shock like this might be too much for them. I'm sorry. My partner has already called the elderly couple. They're actually on their way here right now. A faint smirk tugged at the corner. I faked a panicked tone and said, I'm heading over there right now. I hung up the phone immediately after saying that. I tossed my phone aside and just lay back on the bed. Bai Ningbing, let's see how you face your parents now. I recall your father having a heart condition. I wonder if you'll literally scare him to death. I gave a cold laugh. Then I began to think about how I should act when I see them. I waited until 12 midnight before I finally packed up and headed to the station. As soon as I got out of the car, I put on a look of pure desperation. I rushed into the precinct, looking like I was struggling to hold back my rage. Bai Ningbing sat there with a hollow, vacant look in her eyes. The very second she saw me, she hung her head in shame. After speaking with the officer for a while, I slowly walked over to my wife's side. Honey, can you please tell me why? Was I really not good enough to you? She tried me. She kept avoiding my gaze and remained completely silent. I was about to say something else when suddenly my phone rang. It was a call from your parents. Look, you don't have to tell me the truth if you don't want to, but you'd better start thinking about how you're going to explain yourself to the folks. What Dad's heart condition flared up again. I'm at the police station right now. I'll bring Ningbing over immediately. What are you just standing there for? Move! You've literally sent your father to the hospital with this mess. We'll deal with our situation when we get back. Racing over to the municipal hospital, we found my mother-in-law, Li Guilan, waiting outside the emergency room. Mom, how's Dad? Is he okay? Is it life-threatening? Fang Yuan, I am so sorry. It's our fault for not raising our daughter right. For letting her bring such disgrace upon you. I am truly sorry. Let's not talk about that right now. I assume Dad's been paid yet. I'll go take care of the bill first. Fang Wen, no, how can we possibly take your money after what happened? Mom, you and Dad have always treated me so well. I grew up as an orphan, and it was you two who showed me what it feels like to have a family. Even without the connection through Ningbing, I would still be the one stepping up to help. I gently pulled my hand away from my mother-in-law's grasp, then turned and headed toward the payment counter. She watched my back as I walked away, her mouth trembling, but she couldn't find a single word to say. The sheer weight of the guilt made her want to crawl into a hole. She walked over to where Ningbing was standing. Ningbing kept her head low, and in a tiny, trembling voice she whispered, Mom, don't you dare call me Mom. I don't have a daughter as shameless and disgraceful as you. Li Guilan raised her hand and delivered a stinging slap to Ningbing's face. Fang, wonderful man. And you actually did this to him. You figure out how you're going to live with yourself. Mom, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I lost my mind. Please just forgive me this once. Ningbing cried out desperately, grabbing onto Li Guilan's arm. Li Guilan jerked her hand away with force, completely ignoring her daughter, and went back to the bench, staring anxiously toward the operating room. After I finished paying the bills, I headed back, and just as I stepped out of the elevator, I saw Bai Ningbing standing there all by herself, looking lonely and isolated on the side. I forced a faint smile onto my face. Mom, don't you worry, Dad's gonna be just fine. I've already taken care of the surgery fees. If it ends up not being enough later on, I'll make sure to cover the rest. I walked over and sat beside my mother-in-law to comfort her. Li Guilan looked both ashamed and deeply moved. We really failed you after everything that's happened. Even if you want to divorce Ningbing, let's just wait until your father recovers and gets home before we discuss it. Bai Ningbing stood there looking hesitant and unsure, but after a visible struggle, she slowly walked over and dropped to her knees without hesitation. Honey, I'm so sorry I was wrong. Please just forgive me this once. I lost my mind for a moment. I promise you, I will never do anything to betray you ever again. We're in a hospital right now. Whatever you have to say, we can talk at home. I'm not getting up until you forgive me. I won't get up until you say you forgive me. Haven't you embarrassed us enough already? This is a hospital. She probably thought playing the victim in front of her mother would force me to forgive her, hoping that even a fake response would give her a glimmer of hope. She never expected that her mother wouldn't take her side. I could see right through her intentions. It was more than a childish little game. After pulling an all-nighter, my father-in-law finally came out of the operating room. Mom, you and Uncle aren't young anymore. Go and get some rest first. I'll stay here and keep watch. How could we let you do that? Fang Yuan, you've been exhausted all day too. You should go home and get some sleep first. Besides, you and Ningbing need to go back and figure out how to settle things between you. Since my mother-in-law was so insistent, I stopped arguing and gave in. All right then. Excuse me, I'll take 4 orders of breakfast, please. Coming right up. After heading downstairs and grabbing several breakfast sets, thank you, Xiaofeng. I then took Ningbing and left the hospital. The moment we got home, Ningbing didn't even bother taking off her shoes. She walked straight up to me and dropped to her knees. Honey, I was wrong. I'll never do it again, I promise. A flicker of disgust crossed my eyes. I didn't reach out to help her up. I'm curious, I said. Was I not good enough to you? Why would you do something like this? Was it really just because you couldn't handle being lonely? Honey, I'm so sorry. I promise it won't happen ever again. Tell me, how am I supposed to believe your promises anymore? Honey, please, just give me one more chance. I'll do anything to make it up to you. I'll quit my job tomorrow and stay home full-time just to take care of you. Honey, just hit me if you want, if it'll make you feel a little better inside. I pushed her back slightly and just stared at her. I raised my hand high, swinging it down as if to slap her across the face. Ningbing squeezed her eyes shut and didn't even try to flinch. But as my hand came down, there was no sound of a strike. At the last second, I pulled back the force and turned it into a gentle caress. I stroked her cheek, my gaze filled with a softness. How could I ever hit you? I can't bring myself to do it. Honey, please forgive me, okay? Don't divorce me. Let's just live a quiet, stable life from now on. We'll see how you behave. If I just forgive you right here and now, I don't think I could live with myself. I'll be on my best behavior, I promise. You're going to see a real change in me, I swear. Ningbing promised eagerly, her face lighting up with relief. After we finished eating, we took some lunch back to the hospital to visit her parents. I arrived outside the hospital room. I gave the door a light knock before stepping inside. I found a small table and started setting out the food. Li Guilan's brow furrowed as she snapped, "Where's that ungrateful brat?" I explained, "Ningbing is just outside the door. She's worried that if you see her, it might cause another episode. So she decided to stay out there." Li Guilan spat, "If she actually cared, she wouldn't have done those shameful things in the first place." I just kept a polite smile on my face, acting as if her words didn't bother me at all. While they were busy eating, I sat by the bedside keeping an eye on my father-in-law. I wasn't sure if I was just imagining things, but I thought I saw his finger twitch. I blinked, and in that split second, I saw that he had already opened his eyes. I rushed forward and said, "Dad, you're awake. How are you feeling? Any pain?" My mother-in-law and uncle were still eating, but the moment they heard my voice, they dropped their forks and rushed over to the bed. Ningbing was peeking in from the hallway, but she didn't dare set foot inside. "Honey, how are you feeling? Does anything hurt?" Li Guilan asked anxiously. Although Bai Changshan was still very weak, he looked around at everyone with a cold, stern expression. When he didn't see the person he was looking for, he said bitterly, "What? The daughter I spent all those years raising. He isn't even half as reliable as my son-in-law. I'm lying here sick in bed, and she can't even be bothered to show her face." "Dad, it's not like that," I said. "She's right outside the door. She was just worried that seeing her would upset you and make you worse. So she was too scared to come in. Tell her to get in here." I glanced at Li Guilan for a moment, then walked out and pulled Ningbing into the room. Ningbing looked at her father's stern face and hung her head in a mix of shame and fear. "Dad," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Don't you dare call me Dad! I don't have a daughter as shameless as you." Bai Ningbing dropped to her knees with a heavy thud, sobbing as she cried out, "Dad, I was wrong. I really know I messed up. I have to admit, I'm actually starting to admire her. Look at that, she's got that kneeling routine dance." Bai Changshan struggled trying to sit himself up, but his body was just too weak. He glared at Bai Ningbing before looking at me. "Fang Yuan, I know you're harboring a lot of anger, so do me a favor, slap her hard." I just stared at Bai Changshan stunned. For a moment, I didn't even know how to answer. Honestly, I really wanted to do it, but I was worried it might be some kind of trap. "What's the matter, scared to hit a woman? Are you a man or what?" Since he put it that way, I didn't hesitate anymore. I raised my hand and swung. Smack, I caught her right across the face. That sharp sound echoed through the hospital room for a long time. Only then did Bai Changshan's expression soften a bit. He was forcing me to hit his own daughter. He wanted all that resentment I'd been bottling up to finally explode. Because only then would there be any hope of saving this marriage. By hitting her, there was still a chance for her to be forgiven. I backhanded her across the other cheek. Another sharp crack, but this time I stopped. Looking at Bai Ningbing's red swollen face, I finally spoke up. "Forget it, that's enough. I've hit her, please just try to calm down." "Fine, since you're the one asking for mercy, then I'll let it go. Take her and get out of here. I don't want to look at her face another second. As for the two of you, whether you get a divorce or try to make it work, it's your call now. We won't say a single word against it. Dad, get some rest. Call me anytime if you need something." I started to say something, but in the end I just kept my mouth shut. I left the hospital room with Bai Ningbing right behind me. She followed me as obedient as a little child. Whenever we used to walk together, she'd always be right by my side or even leading the way. But this time, she was just trailing behind. The power dynamic completely shifted. The moment we got home, she started cleaning like crazy. She didn't dare let herself sit still. She was desperate to prove she was still useful, but she also didn't dare bother me, terrified she might do something to upset me again. Honestly, if she just asked for a divorce right now, my whole plan would fall apart. But unfortunately for her, she doesn't have the guts to face the judgment and finger-pointing from her own relatives. She doesn't want to leave. I'm the last straw she has left to cling to. She'd just checked the news and social media too. She's practically famous in Nanjing now, and not in a good way. The moral outrage she's facing right now is enough to ruin her entire life. Now she has no choice but to hide behind me, just to keep her head above water. A cold smirk pulled at the corner of my mouth. I started ordering her around like she was my maid. Go fix me a cup of tea. She dropped what she was doing immediately to get it for me. Now she's doing everything she can to kiss my butt. She wouldn't dare talk back for a second, because she's terrified I'll be the one to bring up divorce. After that, I went online to browse for a bit. As soon as I logged on, I saw the news about what happened last night. I took one look at the comment section, and seeing everyone tearing her to shreds, I knew I could relax. Dinner's ready. After we ate, I drove to the hospital to drop off some food. I didn't take her with me this time. It was about time to give her a little room to be alone. I watched her through the security cameras. Bai Ningbing was curled up on the sofa, hugging her knees. The faint glow from her phone screen lit up her face. She was clearly scrolling through something. It didn't take long before she broke down sobbing uncontrollably into her hands. I knew exactly what she was looking at, the videos and all that nasty hate online. Is she falling apart already? This is only the beginning. I let out a cold smirk and switched off my phone. I focused on driving to the hospital to stay with Bai Ningbing's parents. After we all finished eating, my father-in-law spoke up in a low voice. I'm feeling much better now my body has mostly recovered. I really can't keep being a burden to you like this. I want to be discharged tomorrow and just go home to rest for a while. Dad, your body hasn't fully recovered yet. Just listen to me. Stay in the hospital for a few more days of observation. We really aren't in that much of a rush, because what Bai Ningbing doesn't realize yet is the absolute nightmare she's about to face. Honey, Dad's getting out today. We should get ready. I nodded and replied, I know. I'll head over in a bit. Since you're so eager, you might as well come along. Early the next morning, Bai Ningbing woke me up. After a quick breakfast, I drove her straight to the hospital. Once we arrived, I told her to get her parents first. Go ahead and get your mom and dad. I'll wait for you guys down here. I turned to handle the discharge paperwork and paid off the remaining balance. At that moment, Li Guilan shot a look at her daughter. She was completely done with her. She had nothing left to say. She'd already done all the screaming and slapping she could do. Now she didn't want to deal with her at all. As far as she was concerned, her daughter could just fend for herself. Mom, Dad, why don't you guys come stay at my place for a few days, Hearing my suggestion, Bai Changshan just waved his hand. Fang Yuan, we don't want to trouble you anymore. Just take us straight back home. The house has been empty for several days now, and there are the pigs and chickens back in the yard. We can't keep asking your uncle to help with the feeding. He has his own things to take care of. Seeing how firm he was about it, I didn't try to push any further. I just started silently helping them pack their bags. Bai Ningbing stood by the hospital bed looking at her parents with a face full of guilt, but neither of them even acknowledged her presence. Once the paperwork was done, I drove them all back to the village. The atmosphere in this car was incredibly heavy the entire way. Even though Bai Ningbing was acting all submissive right now, I knew this whole thing was far from over. I got behind the wheel and headed out of the city, driving toward the old family home. Bai Ningbing sat in the passenger seat, staring blankly out the window, a flash of pure terror in her eyes. If there was one thing she feared more than anything else right now, it was definitely going back to the village. She could already picture it. All the relatives and neighbors back home judging her with those cold, piercing looks. Ningbing turned to look at me, her eyes filled with desperation. She was begging me not to stay long. She was truly terrified. I didn't just ignore her plea. I knew that if you go far, it'll blow up in your face. Even a cornered rat will bite when it's desperate. After rattling over a long stretch of bumpy, potholed country road, a small village finally came into view. This was where Ningbing's parents lived. The Bai family village. Almost everyone living here shared the last name Bai, which meant practically everyone was related in one way or another. As soon as I parked the car, a pack of local kids came swarming around us. I stepped out and handed out some candy, just to get those little rascals to leave us alone. Hey, Fang Yuan, one of them said. My mom said Sister Ningbing cheated on you. What does cheated mean anyway? My expression darkened instantly, but I still knelt down and said to him, Hey kid, why do you care so much about adult business? Ask one more question, and see if I don't take that candy right back. No, not my candy, Fang Yuan. You can't be a cheat. Gave it to me. So you can't take it back. The kid scrambled to shove the candy into his mouth and bolted away. But since the window was still rolled down, Ningbing had heard every single word that boy said. Hearing those words from such an innocent voice made her so overwhelmed with shame that she couldn't even look up. She shrunk back into her seat, her whole body trembling. Her father Bai Changshan snapped, Oh, so now you're embarrassed. Where was this shame when you were throwing your life away? Ningbing didn't even have the strength to talk back. I'm sorry, Dad. Come here, let me help you down. Easy now. Wait until Mom and Dad get out first. I walked over to the passenger side, tapped on the glass, and said, Go start cooking. Mom and Dad haven't even had breakfast yet. Ningbing just shook her head, looking at me with pleading eyes. She didn't want to be here for even a single second. Eventually, she climbed out of the car looking comfortable. The moment we got inside, she bolted into the kitchen and refused to come out. The news that Chang Shan and his wife were back had already spread like wildfire through the entire village. All the close relatives started dropping by to check in. Of course, a few of them only showed up to see the drama unfold. A whole crowd of people gathered around the table, sipping tea and gossiping. Naturally, they didn't bring up those sensitive issues out in the open. But the way they kept looking at me, it was beyond awkward and full of judgment. Then her eldest aunt decided to test the waters. "Fang Yuan," she said, "what exactly are your thoughts on all this?" "Auntie, please don't ask me that," I replied. "Just let me keep some of my dignity." That's when my father-in-law Chang Shan gave the table a sharp, heavy knock. "All right, everyone needs to head home now. I've only just recovered and I'm exhausted. I'll come visit you days instead." Chang Shan was clearly showing them the door. Honestly, it was about time. Because once they really got started, with that many people chiming in, things would have turned ugly fast. Before long, who knows what kind of nasty insults would have started flying around. "Well, we'll be on our way then," the aunt said. "We'll come by another time to see you." The others stood up one by one, echoing her as they left. Ningbing waited until every last person was gone before she finally brought the food out. She'd actually finished everything ages ago, but because the house was so crowded, she stayed hidden away, too afraid to come out. The moment Changshan saw her, his face twisted with rage. "You're absolutely shameless. What? You've got an attitude now. After the disgraceful thing you've done, how could I have ever raised a daughter like you?" He slammed the table, cursing at her with pure venom. Get her out of here. We'll skip dinner for tonight. If I back Ningbing into a corner right now, it'll be a disaster if she just disappears on me. For the rest of my plan to work, I need her parents to keep feeding her information. Slow and steady is the only way to break her spirit. If I rush it, the whole thing will blow up in my face. I stood up and said goodbye to my in-laws. "I'm taking Ningbing home now. Call me anytime if something comes up." Ningbing practically bolted to the car. She felt like if she stayed in that house a second longer, she was going to snap. Her father watched her flee, his expression turning grim once again. But out of respect for me, he held back his temper, just standing there as the car pulled away. On the drive home, I glanced at her acting all annoyed. "Stop crying," she tried to, but she couldn't. Every time she thought about those judgmental stares, she just couldn't stop the sob of that sound. I love watching her fall apart. The more she loses it, the better I feel. We got back to the apartment complex, and as soon as I parked and stepped out, I heard someone call in my name. I walked over to her slowly. "Auntie Jang, what's going on?" "Fang Yuan, come over here. I've been meaning to talk to you. So when are you finally getting that divorce? I've got the perfect girl to introduce you to. Trust me, the girl I have in mind has real class. She's a million times better than, well, you know." She didn't bother lowering her voice. I acted like I didn't know how to respond, but I was watching Ningbing out of the corner of my eye, eager to soak in every bit of her misery. Bai Ningbing wasn't standing far away, so she naturally heard every word Auntie Zhang said. "You know, I think the two of you actually make a great couple." "Is that so?" she was seething, biting her lip, fuming, but not daring to say he's her only lifeline right now. So how could she possibly let anyone take him away? He's an incredible man, and there's absolutely no doubt about that. I don't even know if I can hold on to someone as great as him anymore. And that thought terrifies me. I have to do something, but I'm too scared to interrupt. If I say anything, I'll probably just end up in a shouting match with Auntie Zhang. I'm afraid that whatever little respect Fang Yuan has left for me will just disappear completely. If I lose him over one stupid argument, it would absolutely destroy me. I turned and glanced at both Bai Ningbing and Auntie Zhang. "This is my private business," I said, "so you really don't need to trouble yourself with it." "What, you aren't planning on getting a divorce? After what your wife did, are you really just going to sit there and take it?" Bai Ningbing bit her lip so hard it started to bleed, but she didn't dare utter a single word. My face went, and I headed back into the house. I slumped onto the sofa and lit a cigarette. I'm acting strangely calm right now. Bai Ningbing followed me inside, walked straight over and dropped to her knees in front of me. She kept her head down in silence, too afraid to even open her mouth at a time like this. She knows just how angry I am. She knows I'm livid right now, and she knows that no matter what she says, it might just set me off all over again. "Honey, I know I've humiliated you. I'm so sorry, please just hit me." Humiliated? Yeah, you definitely humiliated me. Do you have any idea every time I've stepped out the door lately exactly how the neighbors have been looking at me? Is it pity or just sympathy? I'm a man, and that's the last thing I'd ever want. I know. Babe just hit me. I know I messed up. Just give me what I deserve. I had planned on coming back and really but seeing her like this, I just can't bring myself to raise a hand. I know that if I actually did it, she'd probably just feel relieved. She'd think that would make us even. Fang Yuan snatched the laundry pole from her hands and just tossed it aside. He didn't even look at her anymore. He just walked straight into the bedroom. She knelt there on the floor, completely numb, staring blankly into the distance. Sometimes a cold gesture, or a heartless word, is far more painful than any physical blow. She was feeling every bit of that agony right now. That feeling of weakness was pushing her to a breaking point. She couldn't take it anymore. She wanted a divorce. She felt like she had no other choice. She scrambled to her feet and rushed into the bedroom like a woman possessed. Feng Yan, I want a divorce. I'm leaving.